meeting at 6 p.m. for the city of San Juan. May we rise for invocation. Mr. Arjona, can you lead us, sir?
Please bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for your blessings. We pray for our city. We pray and ask that this meeting is successful and blessed. Guide us, give us wisdom concerning all of the issues that we face. We give you the glory as we always do. In your name we always pray. Amen.
Raise the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. Under public comments, we have Mr. Ramiro.
Presentation, we have presentation of the departmental reports. Tonight, we have the Department of Finance, Police Department, Municipal Court, Fire Department, and Department of Utilities. Every departmental director is currently available should you have any questions. But before we start, I'd like to say that on March the 9th, Ms. Diana, can you please put that flyer up? We have that, the neighborhood cleanup, just an FYI, is gonna be on the northeast section of town. Does he have an address there, Ms. Diana? I can't read. This far. No, Mr. Garza?
Yes, there'll be 5 drop-off sites.
Yeah, we're gonna have them at 5 different locations. Raul Longoria Road, which I wanna say that's Doodine, Firersman Park, the PSJ ISD lot at 515 East 495. What is the other one? Reedmock, and then there's Juan Community Resource Center and Park on Earling Road, which is the park. So there's going to be some sites available for anybody that needs to dispose of any trash, any kind of material, tires, anything. Now is the time. We're going to start at this place first, like we mentioned at the last meeting, and then we'll start moving to the other different quadrants on a monthly basis. That's all I got.
Any questions for the directors at this time?
I have one, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
Chief Garza. Yes, sir. How many delayed response times did the ambulance service have
We
this
had-
month?
We had a total of 7,
7
Commissioner?
total? There was a couple over 20 and one over half an hour.
Yes, sir.
Did they give you reasons why?
I am waiting for the response. Matter of
Okay.
fact, due to some changes that they've had over there at that facility, I think they forwarded my email to another director, department head of the response,
Okay.
or supervisor, actually. But as soon as I get that, I'll forward it
Please.
to you, to all of you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Chief.
I guess also, I was going to answer that question, but you already answered it. Thank you, Mr. Jesse.
Regards to the police department, but I know the two gentlemen, Chief Gonzalez and Captain, stepped out, right? So then I guess when they come back, I'll go ahead and address them on that issue. Yeah, but, yeah, once they come in, then I'm gonna go and jump back and, go ahead, you can move on. Yeah.
The first one, the public hearing ordinances. This item, consider adoption of an ordinance in the first reading of the rezoning request from single-family residence district to neighborhood commercial district for a property legally described as Lot 3 and 4, Capri Number 2 subdivision, located at corner of Pooling and FM 495, as requested by Baltasar Alanis. This item at the last meeting was tabled, so bringing it back before you. Mr. Escobar.
It was a zone change from single family to neighborhood commercial district. Is there any specific questions? Do you want me to go through the item?
This time, I'd like to make a motion to untable this item. Is
So
there a
moved.
second? This has been moved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This motion is untabled. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so this is a zone change from single family residential, RS, to C1. This is an area that is, there's commercial, but there's also residential. A lot of the area is moving to neighborhood commercial district. The city does have no issue with this zone change. It's continuous. So, the city does recommend approval on that item.
Approval, you said?
City does, yes.
City?
The city does, and the,
The Planning and Zoning Commission, we also provided a copy of the minutes as requested in the packet
motion was to deny, so it was denied.
from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Property, I mean, this was the,
This is located on Pull 95. Currently, the 2 lots north of that are neighborhood commercial district, so they're just extending the second 2 lots so that it'll be continuous, because they actually want to create a larger business, so they need more room. Yeah. So they're just,
the oil,
once we change, do anything in the neighborhood commercial district, so if they wanted to, there's examples, personal service establishments, TV repair, beauty parlors, dry cleaning, gasoline service station, drive-in business, medical clinics, parking lots, other similar uses. So anything in those uses, they can build once it's zone change. Currently, they can do that on the first 2 lots, but the second 2 lots, they also want to change it.
so what's your recommendation, sir?
well, I guess you could do that as the attorney.
Well, I mean, in the charter, you, if there's no ordinance that does away with the fourth-fifth vote, it would take four-fifths vote to overturn, unless there is already an ordinance that was adopted by this commission to do it by majority. But if there hasn't been one, then under the local government code, it would take a fourth-fifth vote to overturn the P and Z. So,
Yeah.
as an opinion for the commission, if the commission wishes to overturn the P and Z ruling, what they would take a unanimous vote, since we are lacking one commission member at this time. So that's the only way that you would be able to do something other than what P and Z has already voted on.
So, is there a motion to approve on this?
In the minutes, Mr. Escobar, real quick, Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
It reads that there are some houses in front of the proposed property that's being considered for rezoning?
I think they're saying to the south of that, there's homes,
To the
which
south.
is actually, it's manufactured homes. So that's what they're referring to. Commercial use, south lots to commercial also, and then south of that is the manufactured home. So that's what they're referring to.
Would be through 495 or through the
It's,
subdivision?
They had a proposal through vision.
Or that's why they,
Yeah.
PNZ is considering it in front of home, there are homes in front of the entrance.
Yeah, but that's to the building permit stage. Right now, it's just a zone change. So we look at that at the building permit stage after a zone change.
After?
Yeah.
So what's your recommendation in regards to this?
Since it's continuous, we don't see a problem with it. It's not like we're just getting residential, it's already commercial. And it's along 495, which is already, it's a major road for San Juan. There's commercial, there's residential. It's, down the road you have, bigger commercial establishments to the left or right, so.
Yeah, but 495 is already commercial.
Yeah, it's a lot of that's commercial. And if you look at the zone map, you'll see the commercial, which is orange, and there's a lot of that along 495.
This business is already established, correct?
There's no business.
There's no
in it.
business.
Yeah. So there's 2 lots that are already commercial. They just want to zone change 2 extra lots to make it a bigger lot.
And the main entrance, they want to do it through the street, which is Poland, right?
Yes. And if you look further east, there's other businesses, there's other plazas, and they're 4 lots deep. There's 5 lots deep, so it wouldn't be anything different.
And the entrance to those businesses, is it on 495 or?
There's
just
some
a
on
neighborhood?
495, and there's some off of the actual road that goes north and south. The access,
Proposed, or the ones that businesses that are there?
The ones that are existing.
the other businesses,
Proposed and
yeah.
existing.
There's mix, there's both. There's a little bit of off of 495, but then also off of the residential road. But to get a curve cut, you have to go through TxDOT, so there's different things that you look at the building permit stage. This is just for the zone change.
So more likely, the entrance would be coming in through the residential roads.
The residential.
Because, I mean, as far as going to TxDOT, that's gonna take a.
They'd have to get a permit, and,
Exactly.
which is
So
possible.
the process is a lot longer, going through TxDOT, though.
Yeah, but a lot of the permits we issue, it's the same process. They have to go talk with TxDOT, get a curve cut. It just depends.
Is there another stage at which the site plan has been approved or goes before this commission?
No, it'll only go to the building.
The commission wishes to approve or to overrule P and Z, can they do it with they should be able to do it with a condition saying, so long as the curb cut or the entrance is off 495 instead of the subdivision?
I don't know, that'd be like a conditional zoning. I don't know, that's some legal thing you might want to look into before, but, we try to make the best decision for all the residents when we get a building permit. We look at everybody.
contact with the applicant on the permit. The best thing right now, also too, if you want, you can do either ask the applicant to come out, or, if you wanna need some more time.
Mr. Allen. Yeah, he's here.
My name is Lisa Alanis. I'm Baltasar Alanis's daughter. I was talking to him about it, but we're willing to go with whatever condition you're implying. So if you want for us to use the 495 entrance, we're more than willing to do that.
You have no problem with that?
No problem whatsoever.
Okay. There's your answer.
Do you have any other questions for us?
The condition that the entrance to the business would be off of 495 and not through Pullen Street, correct?
Is that in your motion?
Yes, sir.
Is there,
Second.
all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
For the record, that was a unanimous vote to four votes.
The next item, special use permit for the construction of a new monopole cell tower and a variance request to the zoning ordinance to allow the construction of a 125 feet monopole tower within the 200 feet setback from a residential property, legally described as Lot 2, Los Jardines subdivision, as requested by Branch Towers 3 LLC.
Branch Towers, Jared Leday, he actually submitted a building application for a 125-foot monopole tower. The ordinance from 1997 tower ordinance, which actually the certain that they didn't meet, so the city initially denied. There's an appeal process through the city council, and that's why we're bringing this item today. The three areas of the ordinance that he didn't meet was setbacks. So the tower, let's say it's in the middle of the property, it's supposed to have setbacks within the property to the property line. So that's the first step. The second, they have to have a separation of 375 feet from the location of the tower to a residential, so they don't meet that requirement. The separation from another tower, they do meet that. They're supposed to have about 1,500 feet separation from a tower. They have about 4,000. So they don't meet two of the requirements. That's why they're coming to the city council to request that. Mr. Jared Leday, he actually has a presentation so that he can discuss that request.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. My name is Jared Leday. I'm the Executive Vice President and COO for Branch Towers. I appreciate the opportunity to present in front of you this evening. The presentation that's being handed to you now is the same presentation that was utilized during the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd be glad to go through the details of this document if you'd like, but if there are other specific questions you'd like me to address on the forefront, be glad to do as you see fit. Considering it's the first time you've seen it, I can probably go through it within 2 to 3 minutes if you'd like. But in genesis of the location, what really drove us there is really the coverage capacity needs and improvements for the primary carrier being T-Mobile, first and foremost. Within the document, you'll see the surrounding sites and the proximity and make specifically to T-Mobile. Secondarily, Verizon is located on the water tank that is in close proximity to our proposed location. From conversations we've had with the city, there are potential opportunity that the water tank will be decommissioned. This location will serve as a solution for Verizon as well, to allow Verizon to have the contiguous coverage in the area that those consumers are existing are accustomed to utilizing at the moment. The challenge, as Mr. Escobar mentioned, is really finding a piece of property that meets the ordinance. As the evolution of the technology has changed, so does the need for where towers need to be located. That's what's embedded in a lot of the messaging within this documentation. It would be a severe challenge to find a location that would meet in this area where we're having to go. Historically, the coverage was able to be sufficient just off of kind of perimeter points, right? I'm talking 1990s. As the evolution has taken place from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G, and the data utilization that we all utilize with our phones, the need to have robust wireless coverage to each consumer inside their residential premises is really what has driven us to be in this location. We have vetted through quite a few opportunities. Have as good as any location that will provide good quality service to the city of San Juan.
You know, what was your name again, sir?
Jared Leday.
Jared. The only concern I have is that for some odd reason, during some kind of natural disaster, what if that tower happens to go down and, you know, there's residents around the area and it lands? That's just,
Yes, sir.
my issue on this is the safety concern.
Understandable. And I think that's of everyone, including myself in this room. So to kind of put you at ease, hopefully with that, there are specific regulations that are mandated by the federal government to the design criteria that we have to build these towers to. So as you are closer to the Gulf Coast area, as an example, they factor in all the components of Category 5 and beyond type of capabilities for us to sustain those type of design criteria. As you go northern, you factor in ice and snow and things of that nature. So when you think about, you know, the most recent, you know, challenges of Harvey and others alike, I think we all can acknowledge the fact that, you know, you don't hear or see any of these towers having any, you know, structural concerns from sustaining. They are the primary need and ability for us to be able to communicate with our loved ones at that time. They may not have permanent power to the site, but each carrier is deploying portable generators to allow the electronics to operate. They deploy microwave network if the telco is down. But that vertical real estate is critical in that time of need. And I can assure you that this tower that my company will own and operate will meet to those standards and expectations to assure that we meet and comply with all aspects and beyond to address that concern. They are designed to...
So do they like, I'm just assuming, right?
Yeah.
Do they collapse or,
Yeah.
or like, you know, from the 125 feet, it goes down to
Yeah,
what?
it is designed, if it were, there are break points, obviously, within the structure. So if we're talking 120-foot monopole, it is designed to have a break point, let's say, and don't quote me on this, but at 60 feet, right, or 80, where it is designed to collapse upon itself, you know, type of situation. There are design factors for that, but through the hurricanes that we've sustained thus far, from stuff in Puerto Rico to things along the Gulf Coast, these things are built to be robust and to be as reliable as we need them to be in those times of need. Again, if you look at the coverage maps, if you will, like, so this is basically showing the propagation maps. The red is, I think red is bad, green is good, but for clarification, and you can see a little, like a little icon in the middle of each red. This is where the site is being proposed in the middle of this green area. And if you just toggle back and forth between your presentation, you will see the coverage improvements that just this site alone will make, and the reds meaning in building commercial, in building residential. So there's a significant improvement to the call quality that's going to be made by, you know, this specific location. And you look at the distance, you know, there's no existing, you know, infrastructure that can accommodate T-Mobile in this area other than the site that we are currently proposing today. And there's a long list of candidates that we vetted through that we can, you know, discuss, but again, with the spirit of the ordinance and where we are, we feel confident this is a good solution to be presenting in front of you today.
So do you have anything as far as any kind of visual to where you can show us on the, anywhere on the slideshow where how it collapsed or nothing like
I
that?
do not know, sir.
Okay.
But again, I mean, those are all part of the permitting requirements, right? Within the permitting process, we have to submit engineering to the city for their approval. And if there's additional stipulations that you want for the design criteria of the tower, that's where that could be caught and implemented into our app, into our site, if you will. So jurisdictional a minimum standards are set by the federal government, but there are certain things that you feel would be needed. We can provide you the tower engineering, which we don't have at this time. Obviously, we haven't purchased the tower, at this moment, but there's details that will be, available to be provided during the permitting process. Any other questions?
Members of the commission?
Have we had any feedback from our residents in the area by any chance, sir? Okay.
Basically what I stated, right, on the, that was their concern too?
Did receive a 5-0 vote from the Planning and Zoning Commission last week. Was that the gentleman that was here as well that night? Right?
Yeah, the Planning and Zoning Commission, they did approve it. What they looked at was that the ordinance and, a lot of these towers in the past in other cities, they have a larger area because they have those guy wires that hang down to hold them up, so that's why they need those setbacks. That's what they looked at.
So it was unanimous, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken? Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to point out that on the presentation, it says rejected due to scheduled demolition. Just so you'll know, there's no scheduled demolition of no water towers at this point.
Was there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
The next item, consider public hearing ordinance in the first reading for conditional use permit for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at El Barrilito drive-through legally described as Lot 5, McBride subdivision, located 901 West FM 495 Suite 2, as requested by Asael Solis.
This is a conditional use permit and consumption for El Barrilito drive-through. This is a existing business. What they're doing is they're changing the ownership, so they're required to apply for a conditional use permit again. So that's what they're doing here. It's located on I Road and 495. It's a plaza drive-through. I'm sure I'm not too sure, but I know it was a drive-through in the back, and they actually have access all the way to the back on that one. We did send out the letters. They did also submit the application fee. The requirements would be that they'd have a TABC license and then also apply for the occupational license.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open this up at 6:28 p.m. Is there anyone here for or against? For or against? If not, is there any questions from the members of the commission? Nope. I'll go ahead and close this at 6:29 p.m. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
The next item, consider impossible action to approve an ordinance abandoning a street or right-of-way exhibits A and B as described as a south 28 feet of Lot 6, Berg subdivision, in addition to the city of San Juan, Hidalgo County, Texas, as recorded in volume 1222, page 565, Met Records of Hidalgo County, Texas, as requested by the owner, authorizing the mayor to execute any and all necessary transfer documents for said abandonment, providing a clause, providing a savings clause, providing for effective date, providing for publication, and ordaining other provisions related to the subject matter hereof.
Commissioners, the subdivision plat that was approved, it was actually approved April 30th, 2018, but it was approved pending an ordinance to abandon the roadway. So that's why we're here today. It's located on Business 83 and King Road. So with their preliminary final, they haven't been able to do any construction because they need to, well, we need to bring this up to possibly be abandoned. It's currently a 35-foot right-of-way that was dedicated. It was dedicated in 1968 from the actual property owner, but they're only asking to abandon the 28-foot because that's on their side. They're 7 feet, but it's on the south property owner, so it's just a 28-foot that they're looking to abandon. What they're going to do is they're going to dedicate 15 to the city for the easement, and they're going to have that 13, so they need to abandon this. So that's why we're bringing it to the council. Here's an ordinance that's provided that does discuss, it shows the survey of the actual property. That's a 28-foot. If it doesn't, if this doesn't get approved, well, then the project will probably stop, since it's, they're gonna be using it for parking.
Recommendation is,
What was that?
your recommendation is, BD?
You know, it depends if the city's gonna use that roadway. That's something that we have to look at. If we're ever gonna use it or build a roadway, we can look at that. But
That roadway goes to,
um,
Sixth Street.
it's actually in the packet. Let me see.
Map on that, sir?
It should be in the packet, yeah.
I just see the plats, I don't see the actual map.
It connects to Sixth Street. Sixth Street, yes, Sixth
Right.
Street, right now there's a dead end.
Yeah, it's a dead end on Sixth
Yeah.
Street.
We also did check, there's no utilities existing there right now. That's something that's important to look at, so.
Chief, is there any concern in reference to this issue, sir? Exact location, Mr. Escobar?
Business 83 and King Road?
83 and King?
Yeah, it connects to Sixth Street. There's a
Okay.
dead end.
What is the distance, more or less, on 600 feet, isn't it?
The, it's 28 feet of 382 feet.
Good.
382 feet.
So what was your recommendation, Mr. Escobar?
Well, it just depends. It was previously approved to bring it to council. This is the board that actually approved the plat initially, but they just needed to bring the ordinance, so, you know, it just depends if the city wants to use that easement or not.
And again, this is just an abandonment of the street, so it'll be up to the council whether you want to recoup some of the fair market cost of that street, or you just want to abandon it outright. So that'll be pretty much your all's recommendation. My recommendation will be maybe recoup some of the monies back. Yes, at least the fair market value of that street. We're going to be abandoning, if you choose to abandon the street.
Are they here today, anybody?
Yes, Mr. Barrera, the engineer is here.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Rene Barrera for the record, Representative Garcia. What Mr. Garcia is proposing to do is a apartment complex on Lot 1. And when he actually purchased the property, I guess over a year ago, he purchased the entire, it's originally described as Lot 6 Berg subdivision. So he paid for that entire area. And council needs to review this. What I understand is it's a right-of-way easement. You know, an easement meaning giving permission to the city to utilize for ingress, egress, back and forth, is what I'm understanding as easement. You know, not fee simple right-of-way that's owned by the city. That's something, I guess, that can be determined, but when he did purchase the property, he did purchase the entire Lot 6 Berg subdivision, paid for that area as well, the 28 feet. So it's really critical for his development that this happened. Otherwise, you may have to sell it or something. Here to answer any questions you may have. I don't know if Mr. Garcia has any more.
How many
on
apartments are
that?
going to be built in that location?
Excuse me,
How many
Marco Garcia. How many apartments?
Apartments.
It's going to be in 2 phases. First phase is 12, the second phase is another 12.
Are they one story?
There's 2-story.
Two-story.
It'll be 2-story, it'll be 12 on the east half, and then once that's done and rented out completely, then we're hoping to be able to get a loan for the second half. That's why we're not doing the whole project at once. It's myself and my sister that are doing this project. My father owned up some apartments off 7th Street right there for almost 30 years. He sold those maybe like 5 years ago. So we're from San Juan, you know, we know the area. I live right down the street. You know, we're looking to do this project, and when we first purchased it, we bought the whole land from, you know, the corner pins, you know, what have you. Assuming we have to purchase the fair market value of that, it may kill the project to where, you know, we're not able to do the project at all. You know, we were can only allocate, so much funds for this project. So that's why we're considering this.
Now we'd have to get an appraisal on that.
How long would that take?
Next city meeting? Can we get it done for the next city meeting?
Possibly we'd have to hire, send it out to be appraised, but, like they said, if they have to pay for it, they probably cancel the project, so.
If I may, Mayor, with what has been discussed, I would like to make a motion to approve as presented with the abandonment of the easement. That is a motion.
It's been second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item under contractual resolutions, consider resolution authorizing city manager to submit, accept an application for funding to the Office of the Governor Homeland Security Grant Division for the City of San Juan Law Enforcement Emergency Regional Response Team Enhancement Project 2019 Gear Project. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. This is Raj as well here. So basically, this is a grant that's submitted every year for a regional SWAT team that we assist different agencies. Just a quick report, an annual report that we submit through ASAC for the year of 2018. We were activated 30 times. We had 30 operations. We seized 18 assault rifles, 14 kilograms of methamphetamine, 6 kilograms of heroin, and a little bit over 1.3 in U.S. currency this past year. So 1.3 million in U.S. currency, assisting all the different agencies that have been they called us up. So we all the way from Brooks County, Stark County, Cameron County, Hidalgo County, and we done operations with all the different SWAT teams, which is Border Patrol, ICE, SRT, HSI, SRT, Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office, Mission SWAT, Edinburgh SWAT. So we've been pretty active this past year. So this is just an enhancement for new equipment. We got 24 different agencies on board with us and total of 45 operators. So we've been glad that the operators have been very helpful with us, and we're submitting another grant for this fiscal year.
I don't know if you guys have any questions about it. It's a 100% grant, so there's no match from the city for this application.
There's no question. Go ahead and entertain a motion to approve. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief.
Second one is consider resolution authorizing submission of an application under the 2020 Local Border Security Program solicitation to the Governor's Office Homeland Security Grant Division. Again, it's no match, 100% grant.
Yeah, this is another grant that we put Border Store. So again, they've been helping us a lot, and they've done great work for us already. So they continue to do the great work, and we're just trying to make sure that every year we get funded.
Is there a motion to approve?
Well, I have a question. Is it strictly overtime, or did you request any equipment for this?
On the Border Store, it's strictly overtime, and store equipment, and
It's Border Star. I forgot.
yes, sir.
That's didn't see it.
So, motion approved?
Motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item, consider resolution authorizing the city manager to submit, accept, and applications for funding to the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division for the City of San Juan Crime Victim Liaison Project.
Yeah, and this one is Stongarden. We are asking for one unit. Every year, it's one unit. I mean, this is a crime victims. So we have a crime victims female right now employee. So we're asking for an additional crime victims to help our crime victims that we see throughout the year.
Additional?
An additional
So
one.
you'll have two?
We're going to have two, yes. And this does require a match of about 20%.
Let me ask you this. Percent, do we need to get that out of the general fund, or can we use forfeiture monies?
Use forfeiture money if the position is a law enforcement position, hold by law enforcement personnel. But if it's a civilian, it cannot be used for that. So it has to come from the general fund, the 20%.
But to add to that, Chief, you can only, it's got to be strictly for the functions of the forfeiture and up to a year, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So the grant is for 1 year.
It's 1 year.
Once, and this grant takes place When? In a year from now, right? In
Yeah,
October?
so this is a that the city is applying for. And it's a yearly grant that's been going on for a while from the governor's office. So we're applying for it. The 20%, it can also include already the fringe benefits that the city automatically pays the employees. So we can use that as a match also. So it's just a salary for the person to hire them.
Looking at about anywhere between 8,500 to,
About 8 to 9,000 for, in match.
What's the total salary on that
The
position?
total salary, the total cost is about $42,000. And it does include some supplies that the person will need and equipment like a laptop and stuff like that. So it's a really good program. I know the governor, their focus on crime victims is a priority for the state. And I know that the police already have one, but I know that the need is there. So they will also be working with the local COG has a crime victims program where they all work together. So it's just working everyone together on that.
So you mentioned about supplies and, is that budgeted within the grant?
Yes.
Through the governor's office?
Yes.
It is?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Where are we gonna get the 20% from?
Well, I think, Mayor, it actually takes in effect next fiscal year, correct?
Yes, it will
Yeah.
be until next.
No,
fiscal
I
year.
get that, I know.
So we need to have to.
we'll budget the monies accordingly.
All right, good. All right. So with that being said, is there a motion approved?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you.
The next item, consider authorizing city manager to enter into an agreement with Perez Consulting Engineers for water treatment plant number 1 equipment replacement and rehabilitation, and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents and budget amendment as needed. On this item, Mayor Commissioners, Mr. David Salinas is not here with us tonight. He's in a conference. However, this is the water treatment plant that is sitting right behind our city hall. The equipment that is going to be here is to rehab the water plant, put it back up to par. As you remember, when we did the walkthrough, there was a lot of deficiencies, a lot of equipment that is outdated, that is no longer working, so this is just to bring it up to par.
Questions for Mr. Arjona at this time?
Yes, sir, if I
Go
may.
ahead.
The monies for this,
And I'm sorry, I forgot to say that the funding will be out of the bond 2016, 17, Mr. Leroy, or 2007? Which one is that? 17, that's the bond monies that we're using for.
We're okay with the financial?
Yes, sir.
We've already discussed this, right?
Yes. As far as the funding was already approved towards this project.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, is there a motion
so
approved?
moved?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item, reconsideration of preliminary and final plat approval of the Kings Apartment subdivision being a .905 acre tract of land being a lot of 6 Burke subdivision and requested by Barrera Infrastructure Group, Inc.
This, it through a preliminary and final plat on April 30th, 2018. The city did meet, we've been meeting with the engineer in the past. That's how we did discuss the abandonment of the easement as well. They just wanted to bring it back because we did have an issue with the drainage. Currently, right now, the city has a 10-year storm detention. The county's requiring a 50-year due to all the storms that we've been having. So just one of the issues that we brought up, we met with our city engineer, their engineer, staff. The inlet that they were looking to connect to, it's about 470 feet away. So, which they'd have to extend pipe all the 470 feet. So that's gonna be a big cost. So what they're asking for is a variance to just have the on-site detention and bleed to the roadway, which would eventually get to that inlet. So that's one of the variances that they're also, that they're requesting, and that's the only variance that they're requesting. The engineer is also here to discuss that as well.
Questions?
Have, Mayor, is how long will that water actually stay stagnant in the street? Will it drain properly, I guess? That's a question.
Good. Rene Barrera for the record, representing Mr. Marco Garcia. Well, with sizing the for the 50-year storm, we have the area for that. We can do that. You know, the county will not allow retention at all, and city as well. So what we propose is do a private sump pond or sump pump to get the elevation of that water back to the elevation of the curb and gutter